Hi everyone, and welcome back to Haunted Hearsay. I'm Caroline, and I'm up in Donegal as usual, and I'm joined by Ben down the capital. Hi Ben,
Hello, how's everyone?
and we have another Donegal guest tonight again, Regina. Hi Regina. Regina's in the
Hi,
Jenny.
Caroline. How are you?
I'm not so bad. How have you been getting on during this lockdown?
It's been great. I haven't there's some things I really want to keep going forward. Like in my new house, I'm going to get a mat that says F off instead of welcome. Like, I'm looking forward to that.
You've had enough of it. Well, we're
Yeah.
just going to do, thanks for sending all the pictures you did this week. Ben's going to have them up for us. And
Mhm.
it's just to give people a quick recap. Now, the pictures you have of the grave, that's of the Boyd guy from Ballymacool, who had his horse shot and then committed suicide and had his butler bury him.
Mhm.
So that's that grave.
Well, we think so anyway. The dates are on it, and I've tried Googling his name, James Hopping, Hooping. Now, I had to scrape off the moss off the graves.
Well, I
Uh,
done it. See, but before you go in, I actually, whenever I was doing the research on the Boyds, there
yeah.
was two generations where there was only daughters born in the Boyd family. So whenever they married someone else, the other person had to take the Boyd surname.
Yes, I heard that as
Property.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to keep the property. They had to take the boy. So it could have been during one of those two generations.
Mhm.
This guy, like they've married into him, and that was his own name.
And then when he died, they just buried him with his own name. Was that it, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'd say
Yeah.
most likely, or maybe that was his decision. He's the one that. Well, you can tell the story again. You know that story. You can tell that story again.
Well, there was a monument, um, a cross, like a stone cross, and two graves it seemed to be. And one of the graves had that stone, and I scraped off all the moss on it, and it had said the dates you see on the pictures when he had died, when he was born and when he died, 1800 and something, and then 1918 or something was written on it. And then then the next grave didn't have anything on it. There were stones, and I scraped off all the moss on those. And it was kind of creepy, and I didn't want to hang about too long. I could
Well,
have
I don't
done.
think they would have marked the guy that committed suicide. I
Ooh,
don't think they would have
there
marked
was
his
nothing
name.
on it. No, I thought it was a horse, maybe. You know.
Well, then I don't know, that's possible. But it's also, whenever I was doing the research on it as well, that it turned out there was at least two generations of that family buried on that land. Now there's houses buried over where they most likely were buried now, but they were buried on the land, even though they weren't supposed to be, but they were buried on the land.
Well,
So
if you
probably,
didn't go snooping as I did, you'd never know it's there, and the land will take it, will claim it, like unless someone cleans it up.
I think that's the idea. I think the whole thing has been left to rot so that
Yeah.
they'll be able to develop it eventually. As it is, they can't touch it. But it's such a shame, what's left is the oldest wood in Europe, and it was you that told me that. And then I went and I looked it up, and it's a fact. With even the genus of trees that are still there are actually quite rare pines, and they don't grow everywhere. They're, be more sort of, I think, Scandinavian countries or something like. So they're probably left over from the Ice Age or whatever.
It had said something about one of the owners in the 40s or whatever had started chopping it down for development, and then but in the 1980s it was just chopped, sold off private and public and whatever. Maybe your friend Patty Boyd maybe you could get in touch with her about
Well,
James
it
Hooping.
is our ancestral home.
Yeah,
It
maybe
is
she would
our,
know who James Hooping is. I mean, his dates are there, so I went and I actually looked on it's like a Presbyterian birth registry, but I didn't see his name on it. Now I only gave it a quick scan, um, but I had a look through it.
maybe James Hooping was, I don't know, he could have been the butler, maybe.
Hmm.
Never
But then
know.
again, you just wouldn't know.
We can
You
look
know
further
now
into
that,
it.
that's the only grave that's marked on that particular bit of land.
And
But
that
there were
stone,
other graves, though.
yeah, that stone was just lying on top. I mean, it's like it was broken down, fell on top of the grave. It wasn't
And was
actually.
it hard? It was hard to get into, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, you can see by the videos that it's all overgrown, like, and there's, um, it was hard to find actually. I really had to keep my eyes open because of so much foliage and things like that, around it. And then even
I'm still
getting
dying to get out whenever we can get moving again, to get out and see it.
and get a better look at it and get scraping off more of the moss off the old stones and things because it's
And if
just
we get, yeah, if we can get Ben up and get him to use his new app,
Oh yeah, there could be
maybe
some
ask a few
lingering
questions.
there.
what app is that now? Or
It,
do you want to tell me later?
So you know, I can tell you, I just downloaded it. It's called M2, and it's basically, try just opening it here. It's like electronic electromagnetic pulse detector and
Oh,
detector, and it also can detect like voices if
mm,
there's any like audio.
cool.
Tell you
he's
what,
going to do some ghost hunting the next time he gets to Donegal, Ian.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
What are we doing
it's
during the
pretty
day?
cool. We've used it a few times, and it seems to come up with results. So whether the results are accurate or not, that's a different question. But it's coming up with something.
Yeah, I'm dying to give it a go. I mean, again, we'll do it during the day. We don't need to do it at night.
Yes,
But those
daytime.
pictures are absolutely fabulous. You went above and beyond getting out to do them. I was jealous when I seen that you
Thank
got
you.
to spend a whole day going out. And you've come back with pictures of that house, the one that you told us about the door slamming on you. Now
Yes,
I understand more why that was such a big deal when I see pictures of the house
it's fierce
and I
creepy looking, isn't
realise
it?
there's no way that door is going to slam behind you. Sure,
Yeah.
it's stuck in about a mound of debris as it is, never mind anything else.
Yeah, when we were in poking about it, there was like a range in the middle of the floor, and like the roof was on it, but part of it had fallen out. Like nothing had moved in it for years. It felt like
Is
it.
that outside Falcara over at the Ray River?
No, no, it's nowhere near that. It's between Rathmullen and Ramelton. It's
Oh.
called Rye. Yeah, so it's not far from that kind of
Well, the
here.
River Rye runs from Falcara
Ah,
out that direction as well, you see. So that's what
yeah.
I was wondering when I seen the sign for Ray. I thought well, it's spelt Ray, but they pronounce it
Yeah.
Rye. Whenever I seen that, I thought I wonder because I have a friend now that lives over that direction, and now not a whole lot because she's a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to ghosties, but apparently around that particular area outside Falcara is by the River Ray is well known for a green lady appearing.
Green lady.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Having said that, that's like I've told you before, I could count in one hand how many times I've seen anything spiritual wise in my whole life. I've heard them plenty of times, but I've only ever, and one of them was down in, Kay had a chalet in Bunbeg, and I spent a night there, and it was in a back room, and it was right beside where the stream ran right down to the sea. And I woke up, and there's this, it was like a green shadow, this woman. I thought it was Kay at first, but it would have been Kay with a big green shawl over her type of thing. And I remember jumping up, but when I jumped up, it disappeared. And needless to say, I didn't go back to sleep.
I
Yeah, needless to say, it was the last time I stayed there as well. And I remember that was kind of a thing. I didn't know that that was a thing, but I think it's probably more. It's the essence. It's almost like an aura. You see.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I was trying to make sense of it, and to this day, I still can't make sense of it. So, that's what I was thinking, maybe that. But see that house that you went into, would you tell us that story again, how you arrived at it and what happened?
Well, there was actually a person there, and their name was Ray, so we stopped. Uh, and my brother Liam was there. Now he's deceased since.
I know, God rest his
Yeah,
soul.
so Ray and Liam, and we thought, oh, a sign in the house with his name on it. We'll go in and have a poke around because we were just checking out Donegal. Wasn't living
Mm.
here at the time, and went and looked around the house, and we're all looking around anyway, and had a good poke around, and wow, imagine living here years ago, and it looked like it would have been someone would have last lived in the 60s or something. You just kind of know by the decor inside.
Mm.
And yeah, we were in it for a wee while now. It was kind of well dilapidated on the floor and didn't look too safe. And you think, oh, part of that roof could come down. So we left, and Liam was the last to come out, and both of us are standing there, and the door just slammed shut behind us. We're like, okay, it was really time to go,
I've got to try and find out some history attached to that house
Yeah.
then, and find out what the story is with it. Because, the minute I saw the pictures, I thought, oh, now I understand it. I was trying to visualize it when you were telling me, but I thought, now I understand it. I told, it is a spooky looking building, isn't it?
Well, somebody obviously is doing it up and has gutted it or something, because there's kind of construction thing, because it was all overgrown as well at the time.
Mhm.
We just went through. We didn't even know it was. I don't think you could even see it from the road. You just went through kind of like bushes and trees, and all there it was, sort of thing, and some private beach, and looked like it would have been a very well-to-do house, and it would have had staff quarters and like stables and things like that. I mean, it's a beautiful house. I'm sure in its day, and I'm sure it'll be beautiful again now.
We'll still have to do a bit of poking about and find out who the ghostie is. That doesn't mean usually building and development disturbs spirits and it wakens them up, and there's usually more activity.
Really?
Yeah,
Have a knock into them once they're done and see if they've had any experiences.
come up to the door and do it, no bother. I remember now with the Courch Hotel here in Gweedore, and the Courch has been notoriously haunted for as long as the building has been there. It was originally a hotel, then it was used as a courthouse, then it was occupied by the British, and then it was left empty since the occupation for years and years and years. But it was like, it was a grand old place at one time. Then Private Doherty built it and he developed it. But while he was developing it, the people working there's a whole area down at the bottom, which is, the sort of the old part of the hotel. The hotel wouldn't be as bigger now, obviously, than what it would have been then. But the old part of the hotel, the workmen wouldn't stay on their own in the evening. None of them would work night shift or do evening shift. And not one of them would stay on their own. There was too many things happening. It started off, apparently, there was a few lads down and thought it was ones that were there pulling their leg. They would get things thrown at them and things like that, or somebody coming up and touching them. They'd go, right, who's that? And there would be nobody there, like nobody in the whole hotel. Like, and that happened so often that they all decided they would work in groups together. So whenever the people were working in that hotel, there was no, and yeah, builders, you're not talking sort of wimps. Yeah, they wouldn't work on their own, and they wouldn't work at night unless there was a group there together because of the amount of things that happened in it.
Sounds familiar. It sounds like the Crawley factory.
Yeah.
The guys.
Crawley factory.
Well, Crawley Factory now, we know that was like me, there's a couple of hauntings. The Courch Hotel was, no, it's I'd say full on. There's a lot more people knew about the Courch, maybe, or a lot more people have experienced something happening up in the Courch.
Right, okay.
I don't know if it's closed at the moment anyway, so.
They've got the place themselves.
Yeah, exactly. All the peace they want.
That could be a place that we could go and have a wee look around if you know the owner, do you?
Well, I do,
Yeah, you should.
Not at night time though.
Again, I wouldn't be into. Do you know something? I know that's great crack for people that are doing proper ghost investigations. And
Yeah.
there's something about it being at night, you'll get more activity and it gives it more suspense and things like that. But I've always found if a place is haunted, it's haunted during the day as well as at night.
Right.
I don't need to be there at night, sort of stumbling around in the dark for maximum scary effect. I can get scared during the day just as easily.
Well, when the hotel opens up again, we should go down with the app and have a gander around.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's quite a few places around here that we're going to have to go.
Okay.
There's quite a few places that are on the list. And I mean, Letterkenny, it seems to be we could just walk from one end of Letterkenny to the other. The whole town seems to be haunted.
As soon as they lift the lockdown, I've got holidays, so I can pop up to you.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We got it. What story was it? Somebody was telling me a story. Or was it you, Ben? About Letterkenny? About a house being haunted up the top of the town. Who was it was telling me? And I had to laugh. And I thought, God, I bet you that's the same place that Regina was talking about. This
Uh,
is really bad. Look at, I've got
Blackburn was
four pens and papers. I should write everything down.
was this recently?
Yes.
I
Letterkenny.
was talking I was talking about McClure's Terrace and Blackburn.
No, it was somebody else that I was talking to that they were saying that there was a house in Letterkenny that they'd had several experiences in. And I said, it was up by the orchard. It wasn't them, it was somebody they knew. And I said, was it up by the orchard? And he said, oh, it might have been, I'm not sure. I said, just it would be coincidental if
It
it
wasn't
was.
Brian, was it? Your friend Brian?
It was Brian. I
Yeah.
knew there was somebody I was talking to. It was Brian.
Mm.
And there was some house up there, and I thought, well, that just seems very coincidental. It was someone he knew that had several experiences, and they moved out subsequently out of the place. So it seems to be everywhere, Letterkenny. But do you know what? It's like you were talking about that battle that took place, what, in the 14 or 1500s?
Mm.
See, if those people died and that battle took place where Letterkenny is now built, and they were buried in mass graves, most of the houses in Letterkenny must be built over mass graves then.
Mm. Well, actually, where my family is in the home place is called Lisnanen, which means graveyard in Irish, and it's probably just all built. There's graveyards all around, but what's the chances that you're not built on top of,
I know.
you know?
That's like when we were talking about Donnybrook last week, and we were on about the fact that the Garda station and the German ambassador's house behind it are both built on a mass grave, and they know that it's a mass grave because it was moved from, what road was it?
Aylesbury Road.
Aylesbury Road in the early 1800s up to this site, and then people built on it knowing that there was a mass grave underneath it.
I mean, when you think of the baby or the septic tank and tomb, and
Oh, I know, the twin
local
babies.
kids like playing on top of that and play
If,
like
if that
Ireland is
stuff
just full
wasn't
of
found,
secrets. Sorry?
if that stuff wasn't found, they could easily have built over it years later. You know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
like
here, when you come down here in Gweedore, there's a wee island just, where the Bad Eddy is, the remains of that boat on the beach down in front of where the Austin
yes.
Gweedore was, or
Mhm.
still is, but that wee island over there was where they buried babies that were born that died
Oh
before being
God.
baptized.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't allowed back in the day to be buried in a, nowadays that's nonsense.
Yeah.
But in old Ireland, there weren't babies that weren't baptized, or anyone that wasn't baptized wasn't buried in a Christian church. So and it was usually babies that were, born in secret and things like that, probably the results of God knows what. It's not even a conversation I want to go into,
Yeah.
but that wee island, in the centre of that wee island, is one of the areas here that they buried babies that weren't baptized. There's also another area which is over in Derrybeg, and I'm not going to name it specifically, but there was a house built on top of it, and it was claimed, it was whether it was true or not, but it was claimed that babies, had been buried down in this particular patch, but it wasn't, concrete. It was just kind of hearsay for years, and this couple went ahead and built the house on it anyway. And the poltergeist activity was ridiculous. They had to have the house blessed three different times. I mean, it should come in the morning, and all the now this is going back when they first built the house, maybe 35, 40 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, and come in and all the cupboards open and all the chairs all stacked up on top of each other in the kitchen. Not just like the odd wee thing, like ridiculous mad things.
Yeah.
Come in and every door is open, every cupboard's open, every drawer's open, or you come in and everything is out of the cupboards and sitting on the shelf, And yeah, they had to have the house blessed. So there must have been something. Oh, yeah, crying babies at night, waking up and hearing crying babies at night
That's not what you want to hear in the middle of the night, really, isn't
when
it?
you don't have kids. Definitely.
But even when you do have them.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Or when, like, if they knew about the story before they built over it as well, it would
But you know, I think they dismissed it as being, there's a
not.
word they call it here, and my mum is very fond of using it. It's a Gaelic word, pishkili.
Hmm.
And it's
Fishking.
Pishkili. That's, I don't know how, if I'm even pronouncing it correctly, Pishkili. My mother says, and it's an Irish word for, it's bloody nonsense. And I think the couple that were building thought exactly that it's nonsense. And, you know, but they were told, someone, like a few different people says, look, we believe that was where some of the babies were, you know, were buried here. But again, there was no concrete evidence. And it wasn't like they were going to do geophysics or something like that to test the ground and see was there things, you
Probably
know.
got some cheap land as well.
Yeah, well, you know, you just you don't know, but I mean, it's not, and I mean, it's we're more open to these things now because we have a lot more information, and we have a lot more information from people all over the world that have had similar experiences, and it kind of validates it a little bit more. But you go back here 40 years, you know, and then it's not that people didn't believe, but you weren't open about it. So whenever there was something like that, most people would have just went pishkily. That's nonsense, you know, that's a load of nonsense. And yeah, of course, whatever you say, go ahead and build anyway. And then all the poltergeist activity starts. And again, that was something that, you know, it was all hush hush. It was hush hush and everybody knew about it, but it was said like that. Do you know what I mean? It was, you know, it was almost like if you said it out loud, it would happen to you type of thing. It was, yeah. So yeah, there's something to be said for it, but there must be areas like that, especially in cities that have grown in the last 1,000 years here.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And Letterkenny grew from a one main street. You know, it wasn't much bigger than Dunlow. Now Dunlow hasn't grown like, but Letterkenny has. But when I first came here to live, Dunlow and Letterkenny were about the same size.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Letterkenny wasn't very big. It was like the main street, the cathedral, you know, and those houses in and around it. The way it's all built up around it now is all
Yeah.
new. The Port Road is all new. You know, down where you know, sort of the back of that is all like, you know, all the I'm really showing my age, but it is all new. It wasn't that big a town. But when it hit the boom, Letterkenny then was the fastest growing town in Europe. And, you know, it superseded, and it was like a lots of wee villages and towns around it sort of died off because Letterkenny became so busy so quickly. But then having the regional there helps as well, you see. So they'll eventually they're hoping to, well, they were hoping to get university status this year, but that was 2 years ago before COVID. So yeah, we'll need to wait and see how that goes. But definitely get that wee machine in about Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be exciting. I'm looking forward to that. You go first.
Well, yeah, well, that's it. We have a lot of places here. Definitely, you know, I'd like to take it up and see what the crack is in a few different places here, like, you know, and
You could actually ask a spirit the question, like, and then they can
yeah,
answer
that's what
Yeah,
it
you
is.
can do. You can ask
Yeah.
questions and words. You can see what comes back. If any sounds come back, it actually runs through the words and identifies what word they're saying. You can check for kind of energies. There's loads of different tools on it. I haven't really fully explored it yet.
Definitely going to use it in my mum's house. My mum's house is haunted.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Is it? What happened up there?
And it's a brand new house too. Well, when I say brand new, it's 15 years old. There's a middle room, and it must be where the water comes down from the main road because the water goes under mum's house and down along the back of my house. But it's the middle room. Do you remember Timber, the big dog my mum used to have?
I
Big
don't.
white dog, a huge big thing. It looked like a polar bear. It was a cross between a Labrador, I think, and a wolfhound. It was a big dog. And Timber used to come in and she would lie down the hallway. And it was a couple of times my mum was coming down and the door was open. And this is like early evening. You're not even talking night, early evening. And she's seen the big white thing stretched out across the bed. And my mum went, oh, for goodness sakes, Timber, and walked into the room and there was nothing there. But when my mum shouted that, the dog came behind her.
Oh
Mum
God.
thought the dog was lying in the bed. Now, Brett Timber wouldn't do that, but she was surprised. So when she was walking down the hallway and she glanced and she went, oh, for goodness sakes, Timber, because it was one of the spare rooms and she's in the bed. And when my mum walked in, Timber came down the hallway and there was nobody in the room at all. So it started off like that. Then it started off whenever Edward would be there, maybe staying overnight, and he's had somebody come in the middle of the night and come up and shake him. That's happened a few times.
Shook him.
Yeah, come up and shake him. Literally shook him awake. And we wake up like, it's like it's for an instant, there's someone there and then it's gone. Tapping is another one. But again, I've said it before, like anyone that's passed away around here that's coming down that particular stretch of water, we're most likely related to. We are pretty much related to everybody around here. But yeah, it is. I'd be interested to use that app just to find out who's passing by, as it were.
Now that you say it, I have a couple of stories from involving sleep, and they're kind of interesting. One of them, I was asleep and Aoife, our friend, came into the room and woke me up. And then I got up and I got dressed. And when I got up out of the room, I went into Aoife's room to wake her, or to tell her I was up, and she was fast asleep and she had never got up to wake me up. And I have a clear as day vision that she got up, came into my room, was like, okay, it's time to get up now. And like, I don't know.
Was that the place in Parnell Street?
No, this was in Anthony's house in Donnybrook.
Right.
So we were all staying in the house, and I don't know if we even had a reason to get up. Usually when we stayed together, we had to work the next day together or something. But this time I don't remember. I just remember it being really odd because she just didn't do that. Like she was fast asleep in bed in her pajamas, and like I didn't feel her touch me, but I felt her come into the room and say, "Ben, time to get up." And yeah, that was one story. And then another one, which is similar, but was when we were on the island. I woke up screaming. I woke up because I heard Anthony scream my name, and he woke up because he heard me scream his name. And we were all in the same room. There was like 5 or 6 people in the room, and it was the middle of the night, and we both woke up in the middle of the night at the same time.
Oh.
And I woke up because I heard him screaming my name, and I was like, Anthony, I heard you. That's why I'm awake. Like, there's no reason why I'm awake. He goes, that's exactly what I heard, but you were screaming my name. So that kind of always scared us a little bit, because it was like, is there something messing with us?
Well, it sounds like there was. That's the room. That's the staircase at the back. Is that the one where the bottles fell off the wall?
Yeah, it's beside that room.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the same, around the same time as that. Just not.
We're definitely, when we go out to do it's not for me to invite Regina.
Oh,
you'd love it. You'd absolutely love it. Out to Rutland Island. I can't wait. We have to video that. That's going to have to be Haunted Hearsay live type of thing or whatever, but we're going to have to video it. That'll be good fun to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And not too long away. I think that they will put the restrictions down at least over the summer a little bit.
Well, if you were listening to Leo today,
I wasn't. No,
it's depressing.
If I can leave Dublin and go to the island, it's grand. You know,
and stay there. Would you rather be isolating in the island?
Yeah, I would.
Definitely, yeah.
The only thing is, you still have to go in and do the shopping in Dunlow, so it's sort of you're still seeing people, and it's not like completely isolated.
You
have to leave the island. It's I did a few weeks there last summer, and it was just so much nicer than being stuck in an apartment in Dublin.
I've only ever stayed out once, and there was about 13 of us out. The yous were all out for a few days, and I was supposed to go out for the weekend, but I went out for one night, and oh my God, the fun we had. It was hilarious. Absolutely. I can't wait to do it again. Now, I mean, the weather was horrible. That was the only thing. The weather was terrible. Eh?
We still had fun.
We had great fun.
Yeah.
We were like, anyway, I'm not actually going to start saying what we were doing. Swanning about the island with bottles of wine and glasses of wine and over fields and down piers, and anywhere we sat, we'd look at the stars and start singing. And it was really good fun. Really, really good fun.
Next
Thoroughly
time
enjoyed it.
we'll have a group ghost hunt.
Yeah, we're going to do it properly now. The next time they had a big cookout, they dug a big hole out in the back field, the back garden, about 3 feet deep, and filled it with vegetables, and then covered it in leaves and stuff, and let it cook all day.
It was like the ancient way of cooking in a hole in the ground.
Yeah, it really was quite impressive.
Yeah, it was
But
good.
they're all vegetarians. It was all vegetables.
They're all meat eaters now, which is hilarious. They've all converted from vegetarianism back to carnivore.
Have they?
Really?
Funny, I'm going the opposite. I seem to be going off red meat.
Yeah, I went off red meat a few years ago now, living with my last housemates. I eat meat maybe once or twice a week, but I don't eat it every day.
Mm.
Not by choice. I'm not a vegetarian on purpose or anything, but sometimes I'd like to be. I have a weird affinity with cows, and I feel like I shouldn't eat them.
Well, I mean, they do say that the biggest carbon footprint. I mean,
It's
we've
cow.
too
Mm.
many cows worldwide now. Too
Yeah.
many cows worldwide, and it's not healthy for us or the environment.
True.
You
Yeah.
know, we're definitely more than we need, and
I'm happy with fish and chicken, to be honest. But
yeah, snap. I would be the same.
Me too, yeah, yeah.
Listen, I'm going to bring us to a close tonight, and we'll come back again on Tuesday. You're going to come back and join us next week, Regina.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Might find out more about this hopping guy.
Yeah, well, if you can, that would be absolutely brilliant. I'll go and have a wee look and see what I can find out here on this side. But it'd be fantastic, like to.
I'll remind me to tell you next week about a friend of mine who had and it's supposed to be a thing where you feel like your bedclothes are being pulled off you.
ooh,
This is something that's happened to her twice in a house in Letterkenny again, up near the hospital.
Again.
And then it followed her back home to
Wow.
down the country. So I don't know, there's a name for it, and I'll ask her about it.
nice.
I had already asked her, could I talk about it? I wouldn't use her name this time, Deborah. Sorry.
Okay, Deborah, we won't use your name, I promise.
I'll bleep it out.
No, she said it on purpose. We know fine she did.
So I found out they're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll come back on Tuesday. I don't know if you were watching. We had a guest on from America as well, Brian Weaver. Very, very interesting. We're going to get him back on. So maybe we'll get you on whenever he's on it. We'll get you on next week, but we'll get him back and we'll get the four of us going with the conversation.
brilliant.
Well.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
I'll send you a link for his books. It's like an index of hauntings all over Michigan and Massachusetts and New York. Everywhere that's haunted that you need to know a little bit about. This guy knows it. So I'll send you a link to the books.
Wouldn't you think, Caroline, that churches would be very haunted? But I suppose they're being cleansed.
On a whole, I'd say most of them are. It's that I've said that before. It's like old asylums.
Yeah.
And it's not just one or two. On a whole, you'll find most of these old buildings are because of the horrible things that happened to them.
Our college,
church, I don't know, probably the same reasons.
Our college used to be like a church or something old. Like it had like a quadrangle and an old chapel, and it was definitely something religious anyway. And it was painted and totally not churchy. It was very art school, but it had this vibe of like definitely haunted. Like,
I mean, you let's face it.
You know the way you feel in a hospital, there's a weird energy. You just know that loads of people have died there or something.
That's the same with the silence. There's a lot of death, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering attached to them. So you know that there's going to be hauntings. With church, I mean, the church has been anything but exemplary in its past. I mean, it's improved an awful lot now. but it's taken centuries to get to this stage. It really has. When you look back at the history of any religion, really worldwide, especially the Catholic religion, I mean, it was as corrupt as they came. But just on that note about the Catholic religion, I'm going to hit very quickly on the Spanish Inquisition before we say goodbye. The Spanish Inquisition that became active in what was it, the 1600s or the 1500s, didn't officially finish until Pope John Paul finished it in the 80s. I think it was 1987. It was officially closed, and that was it. I didn't realize that. So technically, the Spanish Inquisition was still alive and up until 1987.
That's great.
Isn't that madness? So I mean, it was over a 300-year period. So I'm assuming it has to be about the 1600s.
Yeah.
When it started.
I'm just checking the date Pope John Paul died, because I was in a nightclub and they announced his death, which I thought was typically
Really?
Irish. I thought it was very Father Ted or something, you know.
Do you remember he always used to get up? Are you right now? It's Benji. I don't know. And this national anthem would always play, Caroline. You'd remember
I
that.
do remember the national.
That was a very thing from outside of Dublin that did creep into Dublin at the end of like a 21st birthday. Or
It was everywhere. I remember being in England and being Northern Ireland. The only place it didn't happen was in Scotland. You know, if a club finished at the end of the night, there was no national anthem. But I can remember, if I'm being honest, it was Irish clubs in England and things like that.
They were actually playing the national anthem.
Yeah, you stood up like and put your hands behind your back.
And held your chest. It was supposed to be.
Oh, we always stood up.
Men hands at their sides, women hands across their chest, across their heart. And God, woe betide anybody that didn't stand attention to the national anthem.
You'd be a Brit if you didn't.
It's changed days. It's definitely changed days. Right, definitely. We're saying goodbye, and we're going to be back on Tuesday, and we're going to go over a few more stories. But I hope you enjoyed tonight. I hope you liked the pictures. We're going to definitely do an awful lot more in those whenever we can get moving out of COVID again. But Regina very kindly went up and took all those pictures for us last week. So yeah, hope you enjoyed them. We'll be back for more. So listen, thanks very much, Regina.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. And we'll chat again on Tuesday. All right, bye.